When you look at the moon at night, all you see is a quiet, glowing rock. But the truth is, a new Cold War may already be beginning up there. China's MoonBase. What is actually going on? Today, we'll uncover the reality that you may not have seen in the news. This story did not begin suddenly. In 2021, China and Russia reached an agreement to build the world's first International Lunar Research Station. China's lunar mission, the Chang'e program, has been ongoing for the past 2 decades. With every mission, they have been getting closer and closer to the moon. In 2024, Chang'e 6 achieved something that had never been done before. It collected samples from the moon's far side and brought them back to Earth. Queqiao 2 made this possible, a relay satellite that helps transmit signals from the far side of the moon back to Earth. This was not a small step. Now, the next major step is coming, Chang'e 7. And this is not just a research mission. It is the first real building block of the ILRS. August 24, 2026. From the Wenchang Space Launch Site, a Long March 5 rocket will lift off carrying this mission. This launch is not just a test. It is a message to the world, and especially to Washington. Its target is Shackleton Crater, one of the most challenging but also one of the most valuable regions at the moon's south pole. There could be water ice in those dark craters, and whoever controls this water will fuel future space missions. International Lunar Research Station, ILRS, China and Russia's dream. A permanent robotic base that will later be prepared for humans as well. The plan is divided into 2 phases, a basic station by 2035 and a fully expanded base by 2045, where continuous activity could take place. And this is not a solo mission. Pakistan, Venezuela, Belarus, South Africa, Thailand. More than 10 countries and over 40 organizations have already become part of this project. Russia's biggest contribution could be a nuclear reactor on the moon's surface, which will power this base. But the question is, can Russia, which is caught up in the Ukraine war, fulfill this promise? Or will China have to rely on solar power alone? In 2028, Chang'e 8 will arrive. Its job will be to literally make bricks from lunar soil. This means the need to send materials from Earth will be reduced. The moon itself will help build its own base. And this is the moment when Washington loses sleep. Because whoever establishes their foothold on the moon first will write the rules of the future. NASA's answer is the Artemis program, whose goal is to send astronauts back to the moon and establish a permanent human presence there. But America's approach is different. It is relying on private companies, landers that can be sent at lower cost and more quickly. On one side, China's slow, steady, state-controlled plan. On the other, America's fast, competitive private sector model. Both have the same target, the South Pole. And China is not stopping at robots. By 2030, it also wants to land its astronauts on the moon, using the Long March 10 rocket and the Lanyu lander. Some Chinese experts say that by 2046, the value of the Earth-Moon economic zone could reach $10 trillion. This is no longer just about science. This is a race for an economy. But the question still remains, can China really achieve its target by 2035? And if it does, what will this mean for the world? We will find out in Part 2. In Part 1, we saw that China is now ready to build its own moon base. But one big question still remains. Can this plan really be completed by 2035? The temperature at the lunar South Pole can drop to minus 173 degrees Celsius. There, it is extremely difficult for any machine or human to survive in such cold. The terrain of this area is so rugged that several landers have already crashed while attempting to land there. One small mistake, and the entire mission is over. That is why Chang'e 7 has been equipped with a new landmark image navigation system, which finds a safe landing spot by itself in real time. But to build the actual base, China needs a super heavy lift rocket Long March 9, and this rocket is still only under development. The first flight date of Long March 9 was initially 2028, then 2030, and now some experts say it could be 2033 or even later. With big dreams, big delays also come. To send humans to the moon, there is a separate rocket, Long March 10. Its first test flight is expected in 2026 or 2027. But China is not alone in the race to the South Pole. In 2023, India made history with Chandrayaan-3. Chandrayaan-3 was the first mission in the world to safely land this close to the South Pole. India became the fourth country to reach the moon. Now India and Japan are working together on a new mission, LUPEX. Its goal is also the same, to search for water at the South Pole. China, America, Russia, India, Japan, all of them are targeting the same small region. The lunar South Pole has become the most crowded space mission zone of this decade. But if so many countries are reaching there, a question arises. Who will own the land on the moon? Who has the right to which area? The 1967 Outer Space Treaty says that no country can claim the moon as its own. But this treaty was created when building a base there was only a dream. Now experts are debating, if China creates a safety zone around its base, would that not be a hidden territorial claim? That is why America created the Artemis Accords, a framework in which more than 50 countries have joined to define their own rules. Now, the world is being divided into two camps. On one side, the partners of the Artemis Accords, and on the other side, the partners of the ILRS. This is not just about science, it is a battle of diplomacy. Water ice is not only for drinking, it can also be turned into rocket fuel by splitting it into hydrogen and oxygen. Whoever controls it will have the gateway to deep space missions. US officials also fear that the technology being developed in the name of peaceful research could be used for military purposes in the future. China's official stance has always been the same. This mission is completely peaceful, and all countries around the world can participate in it. But very few people in Washington trust this claim. For them, every Chinese space mission is a strategic move, not just science. So the real question is, can China really build its basic station by 2035? Looking at rocket delays, extreme weather, and technical challenges, some experts are skeptical. Most experts believe that by 2035, China may not have a complete base, but rather a small robotic outpost. A fully human base will take more time. But some experts say, and more important than the deadline, is the fact that China is making continuous progress while other countries are still just making plans. This race is not just about the moon. It will determine who holds the power in space for the next 50 years. In Part 3, we will see, if China manages to build its base, how will it affect Earth? And could this really lead to a new Cold War? So far, we have seen how the lunar South Pole has become a crowded battlefield. But the real question is, what impact will this have on Earth? Hidden in lunar soil is something that is extremely rare on Earth. Helium-3, an isotope that could become a source of clean energy in the future. Fusion reactors can be powered using helium-3, without carbon emissions and without radioactive waste. It could turn the dream of clean energy into reality. On Earth, helium-3 is so rare that obtaining it in large quantities is almost impossible. But on the moon's surface, solar wind has been accumulating it for billions of years. And here China has a major advantage. Through Chang'e 5 and Chang'e 6, it has already collected samples from those exact mare regions where helium-3 is found in the highest concentrations. In 2025, the US Department of Energy made history with the world's first government purchase of a resource from another celestial body. Now private companies have also entered the race. Startups like Interloon have already signed contracts to supply lunar helium-3. Helium-3 is not needed only for energy. It is also used to cool quantum computers to extreme temperatures, a core part of the technology race of the future. Experts say, whichever country puts nuclear power on the moon first could declare a safety zone around its base and set the rules for everyone else. That is why this is not just a race in science. It is a race to see who builds the first permanent structure there. But if this base is actually built, what will life there be like? In the beginning, only robots and automated systems will operate there. For humans to live, habitats will be 3D printed from lunar regolith, with thick walls to protect against radiation. A night on the moon lasts about as long as 2 weeks on Earth. During this time, the temperature drops so much that solar power alone is not enough, which is why nuclear power is so important. And meteorites. The water ice at the South Pole will be the lifeblood of this base, for drinking, producing oxygen, and even for rocket fuel. And for the astronauts who will live there, the biggest challenge will be isolation. For months in a place where you cannot even simply step outside and walk around. But its impact will not be limited to the moon. Rare minerals, launch technology, and supply chains. Everything will become connected to this race. Satellites and navigation systems designed for the moon could also be used for surveillance and military purposes on Earth. Many countries around the world are now being forced to choose a side, whether to join the Artemis Accords or the ILRS. These alliances will not remain limited to space. Trade, technology, and diplomacy, everything is shifting around this new lunar order. If the Earth-Moon economic zone really reaches $10 trillion, whoever controls it could become the greatest economic power of the next century. Everyone tells their own story. China calls it a shared future for mankind. America calls it protecting freedom in space. The truth lies somewhere in between. When so many spacecraft operate this close together with so many overlapping missions, one small misunderstanding could turn into a major accident. The United Nations Space Committee is working on creating new rules, but technology is advancing much faster than diplomacy. Most experts believe that the next 10 years will not be only about science, but also about determining who will hold power in space. In Part 4, we will find out what Russia's real role is in this race, and whether this partnership is truly as strong as it appears. So far, we have understood the role of China, America, Russia, and India. Now it is time to step back and look at where this whole story is ultimately heading. The first test is coming very soon. August 24th, 2026. When Chang'e 7 takes off, the eyes of the whole world will be on Wencheng. This is a single launch, but its meaning is huge. If it succeeds, the first real step of ILRS will be completed. If everything goes according to plan, Chang'e 8 will arrive in 2028, which will actually test whether construction from lunar soil is possible or not. China's target is to land its astronauts on the moon by 2030. If this happens, then after America, China will become the second country to send humans to the moon. Meanwhile, NASA's Artemis program is also trying to send its astronauts back to the moon. But their path is also filled with delays and budget challenges. By 2035, if everything happens on time, the China-Russia nuclear reactor will have reached the moon, to become the heart of this base. But most experts believe, by 2035, instead of a fully human base, only a small robotic and semi-automated outpost will be ready. The threat for China is the delays of Long March 9, extreme lunar weather, and Russia's unpredictable partnership. Any one thing could shake the entire timeline. The threat for America is changing politics, budget cuts, and too much reliance on private companies. With every new government, plans can change. India's path may be the slowest, but it is also the steadiest. Sending its astronaut to the moon by 2040, this seems like a realistic and achievable target. In the best-case scenario, we will see multiple lunar bases, China, America, and perhaps India as well, living peacefully alongside each other at different locations. In the worst-case scenario, one misunderstanding, one overlapping claim, or one accident could turn all of this into a new kind of conflict. But most experts believe we will see neither the best case nor the worst case. Instead, we will see a tense, competitive, but technically peaceful coexistence. And that $10 trillion economy that is mentioned again and again, it will not arrive overnight. This is a journey of many decades, not years. And fusion energy from helium-3, according to the US government's own experts, it is still an unrecoverable resource. Its real benefit may only come decades later. If you want to understand this whole story, just watch one thing: the launch of Chang'e 7. This will be the first real test of this entire race. But if we focus only on competition, we will forget one big thing. This mission is also opening a new chapter for humanity. Competition is what brings speed. But along with this competition, we must also remember that the moon is the heritage of our entire species. So what is actually happening with China's MoonBase? The truth is, this is not just a science mission. It is the foundation of a new kind of power. It is a race for resources, for prestige, and for control over the economy of the next century. And this race, whether we see it or not, is already underway. The next 10 years will be among the most important 10 years in human history. And all of this is happening right before our eyes. Thank you for watching this documentary. If you enjoyed this series, tell us, which side are you on in this new space race?